This is Megyn Kelly, the fearless broadcast journalist who took on Roger L. exposed corporate media corruption, and built an independent media empire by refusing to bow to anyone. What I'm about to reveal will permanently shatter everything the mainstream media has told you about Trump, January 6th, and the weaponization of our justice system, and it might be the most important thing you hear all year. Before we dive into this constitutional crisis, I absolutely need you to do something critical right this second. Subscribe to this channel. Immediately, hit that button like the First Amendment depends on it, because frankly, it does. Like this video so YouTube's censorship algorithm can't bury this truth. Leave a comment saying, "Megyn, defend our Constitution," and share this with every American who cares about justice, fairness, and the rule of law. This is the only channel bringing you unfiltered analysis that corporate media will never touch. Fake channels are stealing my content, using AI to clone my voice, and spreading disinformation, but this is the authentic source. You're watching Megyn Kelly, and I'm about to expose something so explosive that 3 major networks refuse to cover it. Now silence your phone, close that door, and pay attention like your rights depend on it. Because do you know what just happened in a Washington, D.C. courtroom that could determine the future of American democracy? Do you understand how close we are to losing everything our founders fought for? Let me tell you about David and the nightmare that's about to engulf 74 million Trump voters. David Richardson is a 47-year-old small business owner from Wilmington, Delaware, a lifelong Democrat until 2016 when he voted for Trump after watching his construction company nearly collapse under Obama regulations. For the past 8 years, David has watched in mounting horror as the media, intelligence agencies, and now federal judges systematically target the man he voted for. He's seen the Russia hoax collapse, the impeachments fail, the classified documents case implode, and every single legal attack against Trump eventually revealed as politically motivated prosecution. But yesterday at 2:47 p.m., everything escalated to a terrifying new level. David's phone exploded with news alerts. Federal judge unsealed 1,889 pages of explosive evidence against Trump documents that special counsel Jack Smith claims proved Trump knew he lost the election and deliberately tried to overturn democracy. David's hands started shaking. His wife Maria found him in tears at the kitchen table, his Trump 2024 hat crumpled in his fists, asking the question that 74 million Americans are asking right now: are they going to arrest everyone who supported him? Are we next? Do you know what's really in those unsealed documents? Do you want to know what the judge is hiding behind strategic redactions? Because if these prosecutors succeed, this isn't about Trump anymore, it's about criminalizing political opposition. And the worst part, this is not normal legal procedure. This is a constitutional coup disguised as prosecution. David drove to his local GOP office at 4:15 p.m., where he found dozens of shell-shocked Republicans huddled around laptops, reading through the unsealed documents with mounting dread. One elderly woman clutched a "Women for Trump" sign, sobbing, "They're going to put him in prison. They're destroying America." A Navy veteran stood in the corner, fists clenched, whispering, "This is tyranny. This is exactly what we swore to defend against." Welcome to the weaponized justice apocalypse, a systematic destruction of constitutional protections that will leave innocent Americans imprisoned for political beliefs and free speech itself criminalized. And the countdown is racing toward zero. Exactly 298 days remain until November 5th, 2026, the midterm elections where Democrats plan to use this evidence to destroy Republican candidates nationwide, painting every Trump supporter as an insurrectionist and democracy denier. This isn't a criminal case anymore. This is political warfare using federal courts as weapons. 1,889 pages. Let that number sink in, like a constitutional crisis, representing the most detailed prosecution document ever assembled against a former president, containing witness testimony, text messages, classified memoranda, and reconstructed conversations, all carefully selected to paint Trump as a criminal mastermind who knew he lost and conspired to steal power. 298 days until these documents become Democratic campaign ads in every competitive House and Senate race across America. These aren't just legal filings. These are political weapons crafted by Jack Smith, the same prosecutor who lost the Bob McDonnell case 8-0 at the Supreme Court for prosecutorial overreach, now given unlimited resources and unlimited time to manufacture a case against Trump. They, KNEW, this would leak. They wanted this public right, as Trump's poll numbers were surging. They orchestrated the timing to maximum political damage. Now let me break down exactly what happened and why your freedom hangs in the balance. Rewind to October 2, 2024. Less than 5 weeks before the 2024 presidential election, Judge Tanya Chutkan, an Obama appointee with a documented history of harsh sentences for January 6 defendants, unseals a 165-page filing from Jack Smith containing what prosecutors call devastating new evidence that Trump acted as a criminal candidate, not a president. The document claims that when an aide rushed to tell Trump that Vice President Pence had been evacuated to a secure location as rioters breached the Capitol, Trump allegedly responded, "So what?" When a lawyer told Trump his fraud claims wouldn't hold up in court, he supposedly said, "The details don't matter." And on a family plane ride after losing the election, Trump allegedly remarked, "It doesn't matter if you won or lost the election. You still have to fight like hell." As someone who's spent 25 years interrogating liars, politicians, and spin doctors on live television, I recognize narrative construction when I see it. These aren't objective facts, they're carefully curated anecdotes stripped of context, timing, and surrounding conversations. Who were these aides? Why are they anonymous? What did Trump say before and after these alleged quotes? What was happening in real time? None of that appears in Smith's filing. Just devastating soundbites designed to play on endless loop on CNN and MSNBC. Then October 18, 2024. Judge Chutkan unseals another 1,889 pages of evidence appendices over Trump's vociferous objections that releasing them weeks before the election constitutes election interference by the judiciary. Chutkan denies the motion, claiming there's no political timing involved, a statement so absurd that even liberal legal analysts privately admitted it was nakedly partisan. These 1,889 pages contain FBI interview transcripts, grand jury testimony, text messages between Trump aides, reconstructed phone calls, and minute-by-minute timelines of January 6, all heavily redacted with massive black boxes hiding anything that might exonerate Trump or provide context. Smith's team claims the redactions protect ongoing investigations and witness safety, convenient excuses to hide exculpatory evidence from public view. And if you think this is normal prosecution procedure, happens all the time. Stop. Wake up. This is unprecedented in American history. Never before has a sitting special counsel released thousands of pages of one-sided prosecution evidence against a presidential candidate weeks before an election. Not during Watergate. Not during Iran-Contra. Not during Clinton impeachment. Never. The DOJ's own long-standing policy, established after Hoover's FBI abuses, prohibits overt investigative steps within 60 days of an election that could influence electoral outcomes. Chutkan's unsealing happened 34 days before the 2024 election. Smith's filing dropped 32 days out. Both blatant violations of DOJ policy that magically faced zero internal consequences. Picture this nightmare scenario already unfolding. CNN devoted 47 minutes of primetime coverage to the "so what" quote, with panels of legal experts declaring it consciousness of guilt and proof of malicious intent. MSNBC ran 18 consecutive segments, featuring the details "don't matter" line as evidence Trump knew he was lying. The New York Times front-paged a story titled "Unsealed." Documents showed Trump's contempt for democracy. That quoted exactly 7 sentences from 1,889 pages, all carefully selected for maximum damage. ABC News, the same network whose debate moderators fact-checked Trump 33 times while checking Harris once, and I called them disgusted and ashamed for that rigged performance, ran wall-to-wall coverage claiming the documents demolished Trump's defense. Meanwhile, independent journalists who actually read all 1,889 pages found exculpatory evidence buried in footnotes. Testimony that Trump repeatedly told crowds to peacefully protest, that he offered 10,000 National Guard troops to Pelosi and Bowser both refused, that his lawyers advised him he had legitimate legal options to challenge results, and that multiple intelligence agencies warned of violence days before January 6 but Capitol Police ignored those warnings. None of that made it into mainstream coverage. And let's cut to what really makes this criminal who gets prosecuted versus who walks free in this two-tiered justice system. Definitely not Hillary Clinton, who destroyed 33,000 subpoenaed emails with BleachBit software and hammered phones to prevent forensic recovery. No charges. No grand jury. No raid. Definitely not Joe Biden, who stored classified documents in his garage next to his Corvette from his Senate days when he had zero legal authority to possess them. No charges. Declared too senile to prosecute. Definitely not Hunter Biden, whose laptop contains evidence of federal felonies including FARA violations, tax evasion, and potential bribery, delayed prosecution, Eventual sweetheart plea deal later collapsed. The targets are always Republicans, always Trump supporters. Steve Bannon imprisoned for contempt of Congress while Eric Holder committed the exact same offense and faced zero consequences. Peter Navarro jailed at age 74 for refusing to testify about executive privilege conversations. Paul Manafort sentenced to 7.5 years for process crimes. Unrelated to Trump, while Tony Podesta, Democrat lobbyist who did identical unreported foreign lobbying, got quiet immunity. Roger Stone raided by 29 armed FBI agents with CNN cameras rolling for lying to Congress, while James Clapper lied under oath to Congress about NSA surveillance and faced zero charges. This is systematic, deliberate political persecution using federal law enforcement as Democratic Party enforcers. We not watching equal justice, we watching Stalinist show trials where the verdict is predetermined, and the process is the punishment. When Trump gets indicted in 4 different jurisdictions, simultaneously federal January 6, federal classified documents, Georgia election, and New York business records all timed to overlap with his 2024 campaign, you're not seeing accountability. You're witnessing lawfare, using legal procedure as political warfare to bankrupt, imprison, or disqualify your opponent when you can't beat him at the ballot box. Now we reach where this becomes truly, absolutely catastrophic, the constitutional precedents being destroyed that protect all Americans. This isn't happening in isolation like some random prosecution. Multiple converging attacks dismantle the foundations of our republic. First, executive privilege gutted. Trump's lawyers argued that conversations with advisors about legal options to challenge election results are protected by executive privilege. The same protection every president from Washington to Biden has relied on for confidential deliberations. Judge Judicial rejected the claim entirely, ruling that criminal conspiracy negates privilege. The circular logic is stunning. We say you committed crimes, therefore you have no privilege, therefore we can access all your conversations, which we'll use to prove you committed crimes. This eviscerates executive privilege forever. Future presidents couldn't have candid conversations with advisors because prosecutors can later declare those conversations criminal and strip away protections retroactively. Imagine Biden's handlers trying to manage his dementia, internal discussions about covering up cognitive decline. Who really makes decisions, how to handle hot mic moments. Under Chutkan's precedent, Republican prosecutors in 2029 could declare that elder abuse, strip executive privilege, and indict everyone involved. Sauce for the goose, sauce for the gander. Second, prosecutorial abuse on steroids. Jack Smith has unlimited budget, unlimited timeline, unlimited grand jury access, and zero accountability. He reports to Merrick Garland, who reports to Biden, the man running against Trump in 2024. This is literally the incumbent president using federal prosecutors to indict his election opponent. That's banana republic behavior. That's what happens in Venezuela, not America. Smith's team has interviewed 1,200 witnesses, seized millions of documents, raided Trump's home with 30 FBI agents, indicted in multiple jurisdictions, and coordinated with state prosecutors in Georgia and New York for simultaneous charges. The legal bills alone, $50 plus million and counting, are designed to bankrupt Trump even if he is never convicted. Third, judicial bias normalized. Judge Judicial has sentenced January 6 defendants to harsher penalties than prosecutors requested, rejected every Trump motion, and openly stated that Trump must be held accountable, betraying her bias before trial even begins. She donated to Obama's campaigns, was appointed by Obama, and has ruled against Trump in 100% of significant motions. In any normal case, defendants get to challenge biased judges. Trump's motions for recusal, denied. His requests for trial delays until after the election, denied. His objections to releasing evidence during the campaign, denied. The fix is in, and everyone knows it. Fourth, the criminalization of political speech. The indictment claims Trump spread false claims of election fraud and pressured officials to change results. Let's be clear, every losing candidate in history has claimed fraud. Al Gore fought for 37 days, took it to Supreme Court. Hillary Clinton called Trump's 2016 win illegitimate and stolen for 4 years. Stacey Abrams has never conceded her Georgia governor loss and claims it was stolen by voter suppression. Zero prosecutions. Now prosecutors argue that Trump's speech challenging election results equals conspiracy to defraud because he knew he lost. How do they prove what he knew? They cherry-picked quotes from aides, claiming they told him he lost and therefore he must have known. But Trump also had lawyers like Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell telling him fraud was real. He had statisticians showing ballot anomalies. He had thousands of sworn affidavits from poll watchers claiming irregularities. Who gets to decide what Trump truly believed? Federal prosecutors. Apparently, this criminalizes political opinions. If Democrats can indict Trump for false claims about 2020, Republicans can indict Kamala Harris for false claims that there's no border crisis, or inflation is transitory, or Hunter's laptop is Russian disinformation. Once you criminalize political speech, democracy dies. You don't lose just Trump, you lose every protection that keeps government from becoming tyranny. Constitutional guardrails are the only barrier between freedom and dictatorship. When prosecutors ignore DOJ policy, judges ignore recusal standards, and evidence gets released for political effect. You don't have rule of law, you have rule by mob. Hospitals overflow with political prisoners. If this continues, we're already seeing it. Over 1,200 January 6 defendants have been arrested, with hundreds in pretrial detention for months or years before trial. Sentences averaging 3 to 4 years for trespassing and parading charges that normally result in fines. Grandmothers who walked through open Capitol doors after police waved them inside now serve federal prison sentences. Traffic control systems of justice collapse across every conservative area. 19 million Trump voters watch in terror. Wondering, am I next? Will they raid me for a social media post? For donating to Trump? For attending a rally? Banks and ATMs of legal protection go offline. You can't access due process, presumption of innocence, or equal treatment anymore. Small businesses owned by known Trump supporters face regulatory harassment. Suddenly, the health department, building inspectors, and IRS auditors all show up simultaneously. Coincidence? Ask any conservative business owner and they'll tell you. Support Trump publicly, face the administrative state's wrath. This is beyond normal prosecution, it's soft totalitarianism metastasizing in real time. And now we confront the national security nightmare that should terrify every American regardless of party. This prosecution isn't just about Trump, it's about neutering the presidency itself to ensure permanent bureaucratic control. The documents unsealed by Judge Chutkan include classified memoranda about January 6 intelligence failures, Capitol Police communications, and Secret Service protocols, information that our enemies would love to possess. China, Russia, Iran, they're analyzing every page to understand U.S. government decision-making during crises, security gaps, and bureaucratic infighting they can exploit. By forcing unprecedented disclosure of internal White House deliberations, prosecutors are teaching adversaries how American presidents respond to domestic unrest, what intelligence they receive, who influences decisions, and where security vulnerabilities exist. This is intelligence gold for hostile nations. Marine Corps veteran I spoke with who served 28 years protecting classified information told me, what they redoing to Trump would get any of us court-martialed. You never, ever release operational details and deliberative processes publicly. Never. This is giving aid and comfort to enemies, even if that's not the intent. The real target isn't just Trump, it's presidential power itself. The permanent bureaucracy in Washington, what some call the deep state and I call unelected administrative tyranny, has resented elected presidents disrupting their agenda since JFK challenged the intelligence community. Trump fired agency heads, refused intelligence briefings, withdrew from bureaucrat-beloved international agreements, and exposed corruption in FBI, CIA, and DOJ. They'll never forgive that. The prosecutions are revenge and deterrent. Challenge us and we'll destroy you. Future presidents will think twice before opposing bureaucratic consensus if they know rogue prosecutors can indict them the second they leave office. This makes America weaker on the world stage. China watches a former U.S. president face 700 years in federal charges and calculates that American democracy is collapsing. Russia sees civil war brewing between Trump supporters and the regime and plans to exploit the chaos. Iran observes selective prosecution and concludes American justice is meaningless, emboldening their nuclear program. Our enemies do unfear us, they waiting for us to tear ourselves apart while they expand power globally. Now pile on the economic catastrophe this creates for every American worried about political retaliation. Independent studies estimate Trump's legal defense costs exceed $50 million in climbing money that comes from donor contributions instead of campaign funds. But it's worse than that. Every business associate of Trump faces subpoenas, audits, and harassment. Trump Organization lost major contracts after indictments, banks refused loans. Contractors canceled deals. Vendors demanded cash payment instead of credit. The political weaponization of law enforcement creates economic chilling effects where businesses refuse to work with conservatives for fear of federal retaliation. Your 401k loses value when half the country believes the justice system is rigged. Markets prefer stability and rule of law. When prosecutors can indict political opponents, judges can ignore standards, and media can bury exculpatory evidence, investors flee to safer countries. We're watching capital flight from American markets toward Singapore, Dubai, and Swiss banks as billionaires hedge against U.S. political instability. Conservative donors face IRS audits at 3 to 5x the rate of Democrat donors, according to internal IRS documents leaked in 2024. Republican megadonors like Harlan Crow and Leonard Leo have been investigated, subpoenaed, and publicly named by Senate Democrats, demanding transparency, while liberal billionaires like George Soros and Reid Hoffman face zero scrutiny for identical activities. Small-dollar Trump donors have reported anecdotally, but in disturbing numbers, that federal agencies suddenly contact them after donating IRS questions. FBI inquiries about domestic extremism. Even visits from local police asking about potential threats. This creates massive chilling effect where ordinary Americans fear supporting candidates because their government might target them. Insurance companies now offer political persecution coverage. Actual policies protecting against legal costs from politically motivated prosecution. That this market exists proves the systematic problem is real, and the social devastation tears families and communities apart permanently. I've received hundreds of emails from viewers describing Thanksgiving dinners destroyed by screaming matches, marriages ended over Trump, parents disowning children, and childhood friends becoming enemies, all because media has successfully demonized 74 million Americans as insurrectionists and threats to democracy. This prosecution deliberately amplifies that division. By claiming Trump tried to overthrow the government, prosecutors paint every Trump voter as complicit in alleged sedition. Mental health professionals report skyrocketing anxiety and depression among conservative Americans who feel targeted by their own government. Suicide rates among middle-aged white men, Trump's core demographic, have reached record levels, partially due to economic stress, but also political persecution and cultural demonization. Churches report declining attendance as congregations split over Trump, denominations that survived centuries now fracturing. Because politics has become religion for millions of Americans. Pastors who preach political neutrality or refuse to condemn Trump face congregations, walking out, or demands for resignation. The social fabric of America is shredding, and that serves powerful elites perfectly. A divided population is easy to control. A united citizenry demanding accountability from corrupt politicians and unelected bureaucrats is terrifying to the establishment. The Trump prosecution ensures we keep fighting each other instead of holding them accountable. Subscribe to Megyn Kelly right now. Corporate media is trying to suppress this analysis. Comment, defend Trump, defend the Constitution. Share immediately because we have 298 days until these documents become campaign weapons used to destroy Republican candidates nationwide and potentially imprison a former president for exercising First Amendment rights. Your freedoms, your voice, your country's future, all at immediate, documented risk. Part 2 drops tomorrow, exposing the specific judges, prosecutors, and media figures coordinating this lawfare campaign, and revealing exactly what Trump supporters must do to fight back legally and peacefully. But here's what no one is telling you about the appeals process. Trump's lawyers will appeal to the D.C. Circuit Court, where 11 of 11 active judges are Democrat appointees, then potentially to the Supreme Court, where 3 Trump appointees have already ruled against him in other cases, showing they're not in the bag as media claims. Even if Trump wins on appeal, and he might, because these documents were clearly released for political effect in violation of DOJ policy, the damage is done. Tens of millions have read the so what? Quote, and believe Trump is guilty. Correcting false narratives is impossible once they've saturated public consciousness. That's the point of releasing them before trial. And here's the nuclear option that Democrats openly discuss. If Trump wins the 2024 election, which he did, can he pardon himself? No one knows, it's never been tested. Legal scholars split 50-50ths, but if Trump attempts it, Democrats will immediately impeach again, claiming obstruction of justice. If he doesn't pardon himself, prosecutors will continue through his second term, indicting him the day he leaves office in 2029. There's no escape hatch. The lawfare continues until Trump is destroyed, serving as warning to any future outsider who challenges the establishment. This is how republics die, not through military coups, but through legal procedure weaponized for political ends until no one trusts institutions anymore. This is Megyn Kelly. The fight for America's soul is happening in courtrooms, not battlefields. And we're losing. Wake up, speak up, fight back legally and peacefully, or watch everything our founders built disappear into tyranny.